Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Charlene, and together with Group 11 members Francis, Ruth, and Joseph, we would like to present the topic of leveraging intergroup leadership for successful organizational change. Organizational change refers to the process of making significant alterations to an organization structure, processes, strategies, or culture in response to internal or external factors, and it involves implementing new ideas, strategies, practices, or technologies to improve organizational performance from emerging challenges. Organizational change is influenced by various factors, including leadership, organizational culture, employee attitudes. In this presentation, we will be focusing on highlighting how effective leadership is essential in guiding and facilitating the change process, as leaders play a critical role in setting the direction, communicating the vision, and mobilizing support for the change to achieve specific goals or address identified issues and ensure effective long-term success and sustainability of the organization. Leaders drive change initiative, and change initiative can vary depending on the specific context and challenges the organization is facing. Here, we listed some common initiatives that necessitate three different parts of leadership respectively: intergroup leadership, social and collective identity leadership, and transformational leadership to drive change. For instances, organizational restructuring. When an organization undergoes restructuring, such as merger, acquisition, or departmental realignments, intergroup leadership becomes essential to foster collaboration and cooperation between different teams and departments. In the context of cultural transformation, organizations seeking to shift their culture to be more inclusive, innovative, or customer centric require social identity and transformational leadership to align employees' values and behaviors with the desired culture. Next, I will hand the floor to Francis and he will introduce and talk about intergroup leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Hi, I'm Francis. I'm here to introduce intergroup leaderships. Intergroup leadership in organizations refers to the leadership of collaborative performance between different organizational groups, and they strive to lead and manage positive interactions, promote an inclusive and positive working environment that value diversity and fosters effective teamwork and among different groups. So, intergroup leadership is important in organizational change for several reasons. Firstly, intergroup leadership recognizes the unique challenges that arise in intergroup contexts. During organization change initiative, and intergroup leaders are equipped to address the conflicts, resistance, and coordination issues that may arise between these groups. They can bridge the gaps between different groups, foster collaborations, trust, and promote a shared visions and common goals. Secondly, intergroup leadership is crucial for enhancing cooperations and communications between different groups during organizational change. Intergroup leaders can facilitate the exchange of information, ideas, and resources between groups, which is essential for successful change implementation, promoting positive intergroup contact, and reducing intergroup biases. Intergroup leaders can also improve intergroup relations and facilitate the integration of different groups during change process. Thirdly, the intergroup leadership plays a significant role in managing the impact of organization culture on change initiative. The intergroup leaders can shape a culture that embraces change, innovations, and continuous improvement, which is essential for successful change implementations. By aligning the values and norms of different groups with the desired change, intergroup leaders can create a culture that support and sustain the change efforts. There are a few approaches to intergroup leaderships. First is to foster an intergroup relational identities. This involves creating a shared sense of identity and common goals among different groups within organizations. By emphasizing the collective identity that transcends individual group boundaries, leaders can promote collaborations and cooperation between groups during the change process. For example, leaders can organize cross functional team building activities or establish intergroup forums where representatives from different groups can come together to discuss and align their goals and strategies. Second approach is to promote positive intergroup context. This involves creating boundaries and opportunities for different groups to interact and collaborate, which can help break down barriers and reduce intergroup biases. Leaders can facilitate joint projects, cross functional teams, or intergroup training sessions to encourage collaborations and build positive relationships between groups. For instance, a leader can organize workshop or training programs that bring together employees from different departments to work on a common project or problem-solving exercise. Third approach is to develop inclusive communication channels. This involves ensuring that communication flows freely between different groups and that all groups have a voice in the change process. Leaders can create platforms for open dialogue such as town hall meetings, focus group, or online forums where employees from different groups can express their opinions, share their concerns, and contribute their ideas. By actively listening to the perspective of different groups and addressing their needs, leaders can build trust and foster a sense of inclusion and ownership in the change process. To measure intergroup collaborations, the matrix assesses the level of collaborations and cooperation between different groups within the organization during the change process. It can be measured through surveys or interviews that ask employees to rate the extent to which they perceive intergroup collaborations and the effectiveness of intergroup communications. Additionally, qualitative methods such as observations or focus group can provide insights into the quality of intergroup collaborations and the presence of any barriers or conflicts.
Social identity theory is about becoming part of different groups and how memberships to these groups help construct their identities. People have a tendency to categorize themselves into one or more in groups, building a part of their identity on the basis of membership of that group and enforcing boundaries with other groups. Taipei 1982 assumes that people categorize themselves into in-groups and out-groups, and most of their self-esteem is the product of their identity as a group member, and most of their self-concept is a product of how they evaluate their in-groups relative to other groups. When we ask, "Who are you?" most people will refer themselves to the social groups they belong to. Hence, the leader needs to be aware of the needs and motivation with the different groups, and manage the change that will take place in the organization. For example, different in-groups will react differently to different policy. So an engineer and a salesperson should have a different reward system so that they are the likelihood of any negative impact on the staff will be totally removed. Collective identity is a shared sense of belonging to a group. It is the cognitive, moral, and emotional connection within a community, category, practice, or institute. The collective identity can drive alignment. When the leader is a "we" leader that that has influence over all the followers. This leader can engage the followers and convince the followers to change, to align to the organization direction. This leader could also be someone that leads by example to increase collaboration, motivation, and a sense of purpose. A collective identity helps to reduce resistance. Employees who feel a strong connection to the organization are less likely to resist change effort as they perceive the change as necessary for growth and a greater good for the organization. Collective identity and leadership alignment. A collective identity also benefits leadership alignment. For example, when leaders and employees share common values and identity, it becomes easier for leaders to guide the organization into the organization change effectively. And it also fosters a shared collective identity during the change initiative. Leaders can focus on strengthening an organization culture, values, and communication practices. By involving the employees in the change process, recognizing their contribution, and reinforcing the shared purpose, leaders can create an environment where everyone is motivated to work together to achieve the organization objectives. So to evaluate the social and collective identity, we can actually measure the amount of participation in the social activities organized by the organization. For example, activities such as team bonding activities and family day. We can also measure the social and collective identity by the number of projects completed within the group without any dispute.
Hi, this is Ruth, and now I will be presenting on transformational leadership and organization culture. So, to start us off, transformational leadership is defined as a leadership approach that causes change in individuals within an organization or social system. In its ideal form, this helps to create a valuable and positive change in the followers, with the end goal of developing followers into leaders. The focus of transformational leadership is more on team building, the empowerment of a leader's employees, alignment of individual organizational goals and culture, and for employees to be motivated to embrace changes for the better. Transformational leaders give more importance to the development of cohesive teams and help to facilitate an environment for collaboration. This enables employees to strive to achieve the next best level of performance instead of just ensuring the completion of day to day organizational duties and tasks. So, in the context of change management, let's start to think about what the role of a transformational leader is. Well, in change management, the role of a transformational leader is not only to know about motivating and encouraging their followers, but also about managing personnel, dealing with business strategies from higher ups, and having a strong personality to make crucial decisions. Now let's think about a situation of change. In the context of change management, transformational leadership would be the most useful when it comes to managing employee morale and engagement. One of the reasons for this is because transformational leadership encourages a mentor buddy relationship between the leader and the follower. This creates a conducive environment for innovation and improves organizational preparedness for any kind of change process. This is done through inspiring a shared vision of the future to employees and helps them to embrace and support the change. By focusing on empowerment and individual reinforcement instead of deadlines and goals and what the company wants, transformational leaders instead create a sense of direction and purpose, and this helps to motivate employees to actively participate in the change process rather just being a part of it or just a cog in the machine. Transformational leaders focus on the we so that employees do not just feel that it's a them versus the company kind of thing. As such, this type of leadership is best suited to keep stakeholder interests in mind when dealing with large organizational change. All of the traits that I mentioned in the previous slide and this one, transformational leaders are able to manage the expectations of stakeholders while communicating a clear goal to their employees. Thus, they are able to facilitate communications and the needs of both sides of the bridge. This leads to more beneficial outcomes for the organization overall. Now that we have thought about the benefits of transformational leadership and how it suits organizational needs in the change management process, let's talk about how we are able to quantify and measure the impacts of this leadership style. Well, there are many ways to measure the impact of transformational leadership, and the first way is through feedback surveys, as I'm sure we all have done before. In particular, the Leadership Practices Inventory can help provide insights into leadership practices that impact that leaders have on their team members, peers, and supervisors. Another way to measure the impact of shared values and goals on performance is to use interviews and focus groups. These are more qualitative and interactive methods that allow for a deeper insight into the experiences and perspectives of leaders, followers, and stakeholders. Such interviews can help to explore the strengths and weaknesses of transformational leadership, as well as quantify exactly how well a leader is doing at leading his team. Finally, the last way to measure the impact of transformational leadership is to actually measure quantitative and objective measures that track and evaluate the performance and results of transformational leadership. Indicators such as work performance and burnout rate of employees are a good way to measure the impact of transformational leadership on various dimensions of performance in their employees. These metrics and indicators can be derived from various sources, such as operational data, financial reports, employee engagement surveys, and benchmarking studies.
Thank you, Ruth. In conclusion, leveraging intergroup leadership, social identity, and collective identity management and transformational leadership is a powerful and comprehensive approach to effectively manage change within an organization. By recognizing and understanding the diverse groups and social identities present in the workforce, leaders can foster a sense of inclusivity and collaboration, breaking down barriers and promoting teamwork. Also, through the integration of these leadership approaches, organizations can navigate change successfully. Intergroup leaderships and social identity management facilitate effective communication, cooperation, and conflict resolution among diverse teams, and enabling them to work harmoniously towards shared goals and embrace change as an opportunity for growth and innovations. This holistic approach naturally enhances employee engagement and commitment, but also paves the way for sustainable growth and success amidst a constantly evolving business landscape.